What's good, my people? Welcome in to No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Little, Big Nick the Quick. With me, as always, we're back this week. We got to talk NBA playoffs. You already know that's where we're going. Knicks even up the series at the Garden 1-1 versus the Heat. No Jimmy Butler. Big problems. They almost eked out the 2-0 lead in the series, headed back to Miami. We'll break that game down. Jalen Brunson goes ballistic in the second half. Josh Hart hits some big shots. Julius Randle gets the nod to go, shows up in a major way, 2 assists shy of a triple-double. Then we go to San Francisco. The Los Angeles Lakers take a 1-0 lead. LeBron James, Anthony Davis. I should have said Anthony Davis first because he had an absolute monster game. Dennis Schroeder had a big game. They get the W. We'll talk about that, break that down. Is Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns in deep, deep trouble? We'll break that down as well. They're down 2-0 going back to Phoenix. We'll probably touch on some Aaron Rodgers because that's my guy, and I want to talk about him. But that's how we'll do it.
He's so cool.
No catch up. Sports Talk via Chicago. Let's get to it.
Now look at Mossy. Really? Oh, so that's how you're going to play it. You going to do this? Okay, fine. That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that. And it became personal with me.
Victor Quick, what's good?
How we feeling?
Hey, man, this is my first coffee since getting home from London.
That's crazy, man.
So when I'm like getting back sorted, I'm off the jet lag. I'm finally getting full amounts of sleep. I can't drink caffeine and really my nervous system is already trying to get back in sorts. So I can't. Also, when I'm hungover, I can't drink any coffee.
I agree with the hangover coffee part.
I have to
sure.
wait till the next day and then have a coffee.
I think if I'm hungover, I can get a coffee. Like if I go somewhere, it has to be iced. I can't drink hot. But if I'm not going anywhere, I went out on Saturday, so Sunday I was feeling it.
Yeah.
I didn't have coffee till Monday. And I've also been sick for 3 days since I went out on Saturday, so I'm feeling.
Yeah, we were just talking about this. I mean, it might be time to hang it up, bro.
Yeah.
If I go out for 2 days in a row and indulge with, no real. I'm responsible when it comes to work. If I don't have any work coming up and all I got to do is watch hoops and digest, take my notes, I'll go out and have a couple pops and watch the games. But man, a couple days of back-to-backs. It's getting uglier and uglier as the time goes on.
The hangovers are vicious and they tend to last for days. It used to be a one day. They're really just the morning after you'd be dust, but then by the afternoon you'd be fine, and by nighttime you're good. Now it's all right, I went out on Saturday. I might be okay by Thursday. By Thursday, I might be a human being again. But until
it's smoking off whole done. Weeks.
Yeah, it really is.
It really interrupts whole weeks.
Yeah.
Bro. It's bad.
It stops the movement.
But, yeah, we're back. We're moving though. It's all good. We're here. We talking hoops, so that's easy to do. Let's talk Heat Knicks first. I was in the Garden last night for Game 2. The atmosphere was phenomenal, as expected. They had all the stars in the building off the Met Gala. Dude, I've never seen so many people at the game. Let me try to just to give you a peek on who was there. It was crazy. So we'll kick it off with my guy, Aaron Rodgers, Sauce Gardner, Robert Saleh's there. That's the coach of the Jets. The Giants GM, I don't even know. I didn't know who that was, so I'm not even going to press you. I didn't know his name off the top. Then we have Jessica Alba, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock. Austin Powers was in the building.
Mike Myers?
Mike Myers was in the building, yeah. Roger Federer was in the building. Fat Joe was in the building. Of course, Spike Lee. I mean, the list is endless, bro. And then you got the B-list guys they don't even put on. We just talked about Rich Kleiman, shout out Boardroom, KD Ventures, Ronnie Feig, Kith in the building. He's the creative director, so he's always in there. But yeah, it was endless. Atmosphere was great. Coming into the game, Nick, there was a world where we were looking at potentially no Jimmy Butler, no Julius Randle, no Jalen Brunson, and a must-win game for the Knicks. That was potentially a spot that we were going to see. Randle and Brunson end up going. So they get the nod. Jimmy Butler gets the scratch. My first thought is, how are the Miami Heat going to score 100 points? How are they going to score 95 and stay in this game? Did they ever stay in the game? Almost won it. Knicks end up getting the W, 111-105. What do you make of the Miami Heat right now? I mean, they get guys to show up on a nightly basis. Max Strus showed up last night. Gabe Vincent showed up last night. Caleb Martin is making money by the dribble.
Hooping. Caleb Martin.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, so I'll start off real quick on Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin filled into the Jimmy role last night. I'll say it's just the guy who seemed to always be attacking and very aggressive and looking for his shot. Like it was crazy to see a role player, because that's what he is, kind of take on that persona last night. But it was 100% what they needed. Not all the shots were great, but when you're looking like a team like the Miami Heat, which again, they struggled to score when healthy this year, right? So when you start taking off Tyler Hero, who's their second leading scorer, then you take off Jimmy Butler, who's their leading scorer, and the playoffs becomes something completely different. Like, yeah, I went in that game the same way. I was like, man, do I even need to watch this game? Like, this has 25-point blowout written all over it, especially with the Knicks coming off of that loss in game one. It's like, yeah, for sure, they're going to come out. Garden's going to be rocking, which it was, and they're going to smack these boys. But, man, these Miami Heat just don't go away. Like you said, they get a different contribution from somebody else every night. The guys who do come in play their role. You look at a Kevin Love even. I know he only had 8, but just some of the things he was doing just overall for them was great, especially also in game one. But in game two, he played his role. Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent. Look, Gabe Vincent's a winning ball player, right?
Yes, bro. Yes.
Just the 21 points. It's when he gets his points. It's when he makes his plays. It's just the way that he kind of carries himself out there. And then I told you guys early on, they better put somebody on Max Strus. Don't let him start getting going. Miami all night was getting the shots that they wanted. Like, that was the thing that stuck out to me the most. Like, they were getting open threes whenever they wanted them, coming off of screens. It just seemed like everybody knew what they needed to do and weren't playing outside of themselves. Obviously, in the end, they couldn't get it done. I think that's just a function of not having that top-tier guy that kind of close down the game for you. But, man, that was way tougher than it should have been for the Knicks in what should have been a layup game. So if I'm New York, I'm definitely concerned, because from what it sounded like, Jimmy probably could have gone last night, but they know, hey, look, we're not playing against till Saturday. Go ahead and give Jimmy the full week off, right? Because he will have been off from Sunday to Saturday. He's got 6 days to get that ankle to be as good as it was. I think unless Jimmy's like 90%, 95% yesterday, you're always sitting him in that game, especially coming off the win on game one. And you showed exactly what you needed to in game two, that, hey, you can hang with these guys. This team is not too big for you. I know Brunson was allegedly banged up last night, but he looked fine. Going into the game banged up, he looked fine. If I'm the Knicks, I'm worried, because they definitely have some things that they need to figure out. And Miami's just not going away, man. Spoelstra's game plans are ironclad, right? Like, they know exactly what they want to do going into the game. And like I said, the shots that they were creating were elite, and they were hitting them for a lot of the game, which caused a lot of problems for the New York Knicks.
I tweeted this during the game. There was very rarely a possession where the Miami Heat didn't find the open man. They were getting open look after open look. The ball movement was absolutely superb. They eventually, at the end of the game, just ran out of gas. They didn't have a guy that they could go to that could go get them a one-on-one shot. The Knicks started closing down. They're making it a little more difficult. But also, I've never seen a plus-minus lie so much in a game. Like, Caleb Martin was minus 14.
Yeah.
That's absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Then you can go down to like Isaiah Hartenstein for the Knicks. He was a 0. He played
plus
big,
800.
Yes, he played big minutes for those guys. Used up all his fouls too. Had 5. Played hard on D. So,
quick note on Hartenstein, and this is just like, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your thought, but just on a basketball note. You look at Hartenstein, you look at Looney, is the new thing that you want from your big offensive rebounding, just with the prevalence of the 3-point shot and guys that can get it up quickly. These guys that can create extra possessions like that, like, it's always been huge, but now knowing that those extra possessions can lead to 3 points very quickly, like, I really think these guys who just create havoc on the offensive glass and just put in more effort than everybody else are key. Just again, Looney and Hartenstein like stood out majorly to me in that regard, but like
Mitch Robinson, that's what those guys do.
These guys get offensive boards. You create another possession, and now with 3-point shooting, it's just that much more deadly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, any second chance points, 3 or 2, are always going to be massive in games where points are coming at a premium, like the Knicks and the Heat, no doubt. So I am a little concerned though, because I can't tell you how many games in a row, Nick, I've said the Heat are going to have, this shooting is going to have to relax a little bit. Like there's just no way they're going to get this production from all these guys game in, game out. And it does continue to show up in big spots. It's wild. They took 49 threes. They were 17 of 49. They hit a bunch of those in the first half to get rolling. But still the timeliness of these jumpers was massive. And if you want to talk about timely jumpers, Jalen Brunson had a really slow first half, ended up coming on, scoring 36 of 10 from three.
Absolutely.
Coming off of a game where he hit, in game one, he hit no threes, comes back, follows it up with 6 threes. Big time shot making. Julius Randle, they need him. I mean, like him or not, there's discussions all the time about if he's a good fit or do people like him in New York, etc. Regardless, they need him on a night-to-night basis for a multitude of reasons. So
Josh Hart was the best player on the floor last night.
Josh
Hart was the most impactful player on the floor for the New York Knicks last night. If we're going to call it what it is, I mean, he was 14, 11, and 9, and talk about in the moment, talk about big plays, talk about on defense. And we talked about it when they made that trade. This guy was going to play 30-plus minutes a night for Tom Thibodeau because he's a Tibbs-type player. But, yeah, I thought Hart 100% kept the Knicks in the game.
No question. And the 2 threes he hit were in the fourth quarter in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Massive.
So, yeah, they were massive, massive jump shots from Josh Hart. But, yeah, I am a little worried that this is what I want to say, Nick. I always believed in Heat culture. There was never a time where I didn't believe in Heat culture. But I didn't think this shit could carry teams to the Eastern Conference Finals. this is pure Heat. This is pure guys. Heat culture. Yeah, this is pure Heat. For them to be competing the way they are is tough. I still think the Knicks win the series, and they just have too much depth, too much firepower overall.
The Knicks' depth is shaky, though, right?
It's not, though. Quickly's not playing very well in the playoffs.
Quickly's not playing well. Toppin has been playing well, but he didn't play well last night. But those guys can be shaky. And you're not, let's be honest, are you getting that kind of first half from RJ Barrett again?
Well, now we're going on 4 straight games of saying that, and he's been killing. He's been cooking the last 4 straight games.
He's a guy that's tough to trust.
When he's going to the rack, and he was hitting jumpers last night.
Threes last night, though. Yeah, he was shooting. He was shooting that thing last night. Yeah, he wasn't even going to the rack.
It's one of those things where the guy, like, for example, the Miami Heat were the shots that Josh Hart got up and RJ Barrett got up are wide open looks.
For sure.
Just got to hit 40% of those, and it's a game changer, and they're going to be able to move. For example, we'll get to this game in a second, but they were letting LeBron shoot. He was struggling from deep. He's been struggling from deep.
Everybody shoot.
They were letting a lot of people shoot that they didn't trust to shoot, and if you're not knocking them down, it's going to be an issue. So.
And that's psychological too. Guys leaving you open, like you think
it is psychological.
It's so psychological. If you watch the Lakers last night, I'm sorry, the Warriors last night, and those boys were shooketh that they had that much space. They didn't know what to do. It's like, why are you leaving me wide open? You know what I mean? So yeah, that shit is a great tactic that's used. But I worry that when Jimmy comes back to this series, and now you want to talk about how many straight games. This is now 6 straight games for the Miami Heat. I guess 5 out of 6 games for the Miami Heat. I'm sorry, 7 games that they played in the playoffs. And 6 of them, they've looked great. You know what I mean? 6 of them, they've looked like they can actually contend. And so when you bring Jimmy back into this, like at some point, it's not fluky with Miami, and they really are legitimate. And it kind of feels like that year they went to the finals in the bubble. I know a lot of different things happened, but you start knocking out contenders early, like the Bucks are going to be out. We don't know what's going to happen with the Celtics, and your road gets a little bit easier. I don't know. Now, with that being said, I don't know if they necessarily want to see the Sixers. I know I'm looking ahead, but I think Embiid would be a problem for them because they just have 0 size at all. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. It is wide open.
Let me ask you this. There's been multiple series now where teams feel like they have an advantage and they're resting big-time guys instead of trying to flatline him.
Yeah.
For example, it's always tough talking about injuries, and I want to be very clear here. Like this is just me speaking off of my gut and kind of evaluating the whole situation. I don't know how hurt Jimmy Butler's ankle is, right? But it seemed like one of those spots where if it was a game 6, he would go.
For sure.
How about that, right?
Yeah.
If you followed him on Instagram, he was walking all over New York, having a great time. He was walking up and down Midtown. So it wasn't, and walking up and down Midtown is not playing lateral defense on Julius Randle. I understand that. But still, it seemed like he could potentially have went. That was the narrative around it. That's what I was hearing from people. Now, just before we hopped on here, as we record this Wednesday morning, confirmed Joel Embiid's going to go in game 2.
Yeah.
They're not saying, hey, we did what we needed to do in games 1 and 2 in Boston. Let's get back to Philly and take care of business. Are you in the camp? For example, Milwaukee thought it was sweet and didn't really rush Giannis back. Like, yeah, we're good. Don't worry about it. Miami tucked them away. So Jimmy sits in this game. They still almost pull it off. But maybe Jimmy go up 2-0 and just close the shit already. Get the rest later on.
I think it's case by case. And in the Miami case, I had no problem with how they did it, but because it is an ankle, and the only way it's going to get better is him staying off of it for a few days. So if you're looking at it like them, like, hey, literally, if he doesn't
but Nick,
play
you
game,
feel me? I just said my man walking around town and
I
shit.
I
He's
understand.
that kid with, and I'm just playing devil's advocate
But
here.
it's also
Jimmy,
like you said,
Jimmy knows himself. Pat knows himself.
Oh, Jimmy wanted to play. They told Jimmy he can't go. So that was said during the broadcast. Jimmy said, I'm ready.
Well,
and they said no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, but like, who's saying no?
Pat Riley,
Pat,
the guy.
Pat saying no.
He always says no.
But do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Like,
I didn't have a problem with it. I understand the logic on that. Only because you have 4 days off between your next game. And I guess the logic can also go the other way is, hey, have him tested. I haven't tested on Tuesday. And again, he's still going to get that day off between Tuesday and Saturday. But I didn't necessarily have a problem with it. Obviously, they know better than we do. The Giannis one I had a problem with. And
it's just you're taking. Yeah. It's just that you're taking a little bit of this.
You think it's getting a little bit more
like,
liberal
we
right
got
now.
A game. Let's go back to Miami, and it's just like, man, you have a shot to go up 2-0 and then go back home.
Sure.
And I think that's how Philly's looking at it. Joel's like, hey, I could go. Let's try to get 2 in Boston and then go back to Philly. So I think that's interesting. We'll see how it shakes. I never questioned Jimmy Butler. I never questioned Spo and Pat. But we've seen this on multiple occasions in different series with different players. Also, I don't know what the fuck is going on with ankles, but, man, it's been tough. Even Strus last night couldn't come back. Came on for a second, had to go back off. He stepped on a foot. Yeah, Julie is stepping on.
His bodies are weak.
It's been a lot of fluky shit, though. Like that shit that with Butler stepping on Josh Hart's foot, it's fluky.
For sure.
So that's whatever. But the ankles have been an issue. We'll see what happens. It seems as if the Heat are playing ultimate team ball. Dante, my guy in the comments, said Heat running college program over there.
No, for real, plug and play. Let me ask you this: do you have anything? So, do you got any smoke for Bam Adebayo, or is this just kind of who he is?
Yeah, no, I think I tweeted before the game. I'm very interested to see how Bam Adebayo approaches this game offensively, knowing Jimmy Butler. Not Jimmy started the first quarter and went out. Yeah. He's coming into the game with no Jimmy.
Yeah.
Is Bam Adebayo gonna go to work? And
10 attempts.
He's just a passive guy offensively, specifically.
Less attempts than Vincent, less attempts than Strus, less than Caleb Martin, and barely more than Duncan Robinson.
And I'm going to tell you this: when they needed the bucket, Gabe Vincent was handling the rock, and he was going to either put it up or he was going to find someone to get it up.
That's why I didn't love the Lowry minutes.
But
Lowry was hurting you last night.
Right. But what I'm saying is that Gabe was either going to get you a shot or he was going to find someone else. And who he was looking for was not Bam.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I think that's just who he is offensively. He's just a passive guy. Also, this is not the best matchup for him.
For sure.
The Knicks have a lot of guys that can bang with him over and over.
Go down low and try to
it's not like he's catching it on the it's not like he's catching it and going to work on guys that are a little smaller than him. Like, for example, the whole thing with what we're going to get into with the Lakers and Golden State is like Anthony Davis can just catch and pull up over these dudes.
Yeah, anytime he wants.
Anytime he wants, right? And that's not the case for Bam. Bam has a lot more work to do with Mitchell Robinson, Hartenstein, Randall, and even Josh Hart is difficult to deal with on defense, who we saw a few possessions as well. So, to answer your question, what do we talk about, Nick? It's tough to give guys heat when they they don't want to play outside of themselves. Yeah. Like, that's just not his game, right? So it's tough to ask him, like, hey, go out and go crazy. I think me and you were on the same page where we tend to give guys heat that have the ability, that's their game. And then when it's time, it's like, whoa, where is this guy?
I was just about to say, you don't get the feeling from Bam that he's holding back. You watch certain guys and it's like, man, he's holding. Like, Wiggins is a great example here. Sometimes you watch Wiggins and you're just like, man, this dude could do so much more. And he's clearly holding back. And he's a passive guy too. But with Bam, it's not like, man, why isn't Bam going to his shit? You know, like he doesn't have that kind of bag.
He doesn't have that in his bag.
He gets you 18 throughout the. It's kind of like a Jaren Jackson Jr. almost, right? It's like, these guys get you 16 to 18 just by being talented, being on the floor. But it's not like he's got like some plethora of moves or some next level that you're waiting for him to go to, right? So like I give him the benefit of the doubt in that situation, and that it's not like I expect Bam to, like, man, he needs to be aggressive. I've seen him do it. Like, it's not what he does.
Yeah, it's just not. That's so. That's not how. I have a hard time saying like
that's a great
Bam
point.
Needs to show up.
For sure.
Because it's just outside of his game. That's not his game.
He did show up. They did what he did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he does.
18, 10, and 6 assists is his game. I showed up. I played great defense. Like, what more do you want?
Exactly. I impact on the defensive end. If
don't come to me for that scoring.
You might come at Bam for not like going to get better in the offseason on offense and showing up with like a different repertoire.
I mean, if he could shoot threes, it'd be a fucking game changer.
Yeah. So that's where you could fault him. But typically when I'm looking at guys and I'm like, yo, what is this guy doing?
It's not Ben Simmons.
It's not, or like it's like the best example is probably Jason Tatum. Like, dude, what the fuck? What is going on here? Yeah. Like, this guy can do anything, anytime, and I haven't seen him get a shot up in 7 minutes.
Doesn't play second halves of basketball games, apparently.
So that's where I tend to get hard on players. But Bam, I think this is who he is. And we'll get to this as well, like later on. Gabe and Caleb are getting up these shots because they have to. Yeah. Similarly to Kevin Durant taking 12 3-point attempts in game 2. He's just getting these up because no one else is going to get them up. So
their offenses.
We'll get to them. We'll get to them. But great win for the Knicks, 111-105. A W's a W. But that was an ultimate grind. You get 25 from Randall, 30 from Brunson, 24 from RJ Barrett, 14 from Josh Hart, and you eke out a win against Kevin Love, Caleb Martin, Bam Adebayo, Gabe Vincent, and Max Strus. Guys that are undrafted.
For sure.
So we'll see how the rest of this shakes going down to Miami. Maybe I'll shoot down to Miami for a game. I'll see what the Knicks is talking about.
South Beach, little
waters only though. If I go, I'll trip. All right, let's move off of the Knicks Heat. Big W there. Let's go over to the Lakers, man. Everybody said it. You don't want to see the Lakers if these boys start rolling and they get healthy. They sneak in. You don't want to see these boys. They get the game won in the second round of the NBA playoffs against the Warriors, 117-112. Big Nick the Quick, I'll let you kick it off. What did you see from the game? Anthony Davis goes absolutely ballistic. He has 30, 23 boards, 5 assists, 4 blocks.
Yeah.
11 of 19 from the floor, didn't miss a free throw.
As he should.
And he, by far and away, had the most impact on the game for the Lakers. I would say number 2 is probably Dennis Schroeder, who had 19 off the bench and had just some big time shots.
I would say Jared Vanderbilt.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so we talk about the Lakers. As far as the Lakers' game plan, I thought that the plan that Darvin Ham came out with was excellent. He clearly was going to have Vanderbilt be the primary guy on Curry and chase him around all night. You're not going to stop Steph Curry, and you saw that in the fourth quarter, but I thought Vanderbilt just applying that pressure and just kind of be willing to chase him around for the whole game was a great strategy. He also sagged off of everybody not named Steph Curry or Klay Thompson and dared those guys to beat him, which they clearly couldn't do. I thought Anthony Davis, the biggest advantage going into this series is Anthony Davis, right? The Warriors do not have size. They haven't had a size option since Andrew Bogut of someone that they can trust and put in there. We're going back years. This has always been the problem with the Warriors. And Anthony Davis, when he feels like it, can be the most dominant player out there, right? Like his offensive repertoire, the things that he can do, the ability he has. Actually, the best example of what we were talking about is Anthony Davis with the Bam Adebayo conversation, as far as a guy who you look at and you're just saying, man, why don't you just go out there and dominate? And I felt like for most of that game yesterday, he 100% was on that, especially on the defensive end, man. You look down the stretch, Anthony Davis was impacting everything defensively. He had a massive block at the end of the game on Steph Curry.
Yep.
And just overall on D and rebounding again is a part of defense, right? Just controlling everything out there, set the tone for the Lakers in the first half. And then you get to the second half, and the Lakers just had some of these guys step up and make huge plays, whether it's big shots from Austin Reeves, whether it's LeBron coming down the stretch and making some plays and turning back the hands of time. I just thought that overall, man, it was a great effort from the Los Angeles Lakers, a great execution of the game plan. You survived that Steph comeback attempt at the end of the game, which is absolutely massive. We can get into the Jordan Poole stuff if we want, because I thought that Jordan Poole and D'Angelo Russell were going back and forth to see who could make the dumbest play on the court at the end. The D'Angelo Russell air ball.
Hey,
D'Lo air ball was legendary.
Sure, but he got the bucket after that. He got the last bucket.
Go-ahead bucket.
Yeah,
massive go-ahead. And that was the thing I tweeted last night. Like D'Angelo Russell, you got the full experience yesterday. You got the head-scratching plays, and then you got the play at the end where it's like it's a brilliant. That was a tough shot in contact for that go-ahead bucket to put the Lakers up too. So absolutely, man. I thought that, again, you got timely contributions from the Lakers. I can't downplay Jared Vanderbilt, though. I think he was all over the place making plays. And you want to talk about stat sheets not really showing the whole story. Only had 8, 6, and 2. But if you watch that ball game, Jared Vanderbilt was absolutely impacting things out there. Not the best game offensively from LeBron, but I thought defensively LeBron was awesome last night.
Yeah.
Like I really did. In the fourth quarter, I thought LeBron was great. LeBron and AD's defense in the fourth quarter sealed that victory for the Lakers.
Lately, LeBron has really been contesting shots at the rim and making people work at the basket. He had a couple blocks last night and a couple different altering type spots in the paint. But yeah, LeBron has definitely made an emphasis to impact some plays on that side. Yeah, I mean, you know how you get the Vanderbilt asked Darvin Ham. He said, "I want Curry."
Is that what he said? I don't
know. Well, no, they they talked about it on the telecast. He's like, yeah,
give me Steph. All right,
Vanderbilt talked to Ham, said he wants Steph, and sure, great, but yeah, no, he's. I mean, listen, bro, what Pelinka did.
It's a hell of a trade,
bro. To flip the roster.
Beasley didn't even play, right? Is Beasley hurt?
Dude, Beasley, I don't think he's hurt. I don't think he's
out of the rotation. Playing. He's one of those guys. He's
but still. I guarantee you, Malik Beasley will be a guy that comes in his.
He'll have a moment,
in a big spot.
He'll certainly take them for sure.
So really quick before we get into the game some more, I got to give y'all a tip, man, on the East Coast or y'all early morning cats. This is what I've been doing the last 2 months. I watched the first game on TNT or ESPN. I go to sleep at 10:30, 11 o'clock. I record the game. I wake up 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m., whatever. Get up 6 a.m., whatever you got to do. I don't have any kids and shit, so it's a little different maybe. Yeah. But I get up 6 a.m., 6:30. I have a cup of coffee, and I watch the late game. And it's the best shit in the world. I don't look at my phone. I don't touch any of my shit. I get up, turn the game on, have a cup of coffee, and I don't know what happened, who's doing what.
So you didn't even know who won the game when you watched this morning?
Didn't even know who won the game. Didn't know anything. I kind of got I think one of your I got a text from you or someone else that kind of tipped me off on like what happened.
Yeah.
But still, it was still like high drama. I watched the whole thing. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, that's a little tip.
Not seeing what happened because I got like Bleacher Report, ESPN, just zapping my phone with every update.
Well, what I'm saying is, you after the first game ends, so like for example, after the Garden, I got on the train. I went home. I got home. I didn't even turn the TV on. I called my girl. I had a little conversation with my girl. It's at like 11.
Yeah.
The game started when I was on the train on the way home, right?
That's right. You're also on that extra hour back, so like your ends are vicious.
I get home at 11. I have a little tea. Call my girl. I go to sleep. I'm sleeping by like 11:40, and then I'm up at 6:30. And I don't look at my phone. That's the key.
Yeah,
you just don't you get up and don't look at your shit.
Yeah, it's so hard not to.
I turn the shit on. Bing, bing. I watch the game. I'm fast forwarding through all the commercials. I stop. I watch Kenny, Chuck, and Shaq at half. And then the game's over. I watch the game in like an hour and 20 minutes. It's fucking phenomenal.
Great, yeah.
So anyway, the one thing I do want to key on is Golden State, the issue, and after this, we're gonna talk a little bit about each team and what worries us about them. The Golden State lineup of Looney, Draymond, Steph, Wiggins, and Clay on offense is 3-on-5. And I believe that's gonna be an issue here at some point to where Anthony Davis is going to offset some of these rebounds. I mean, Looney, he was still doing damage on the offensive glass last night. Yeah. He had 7 offensive boards last night, so he's still doing damage. But
I hope he's up for a contract.
Wiggins is one of those guys that we just talked about. Offensively, he lets it come to him more, right? Clay is running off.
I would say so.
Yeah, Clay is running off of screens. He's not ball handling at all.
He doesn't dribble.
The only guy out there handling the rock is Draymond Green and Steph. And Draymond's handling the rock with absolutely zero offensive threat whatsoever.
Doesn't look at the basket.
Everyone checking Dre knows he's not going to get a shot up. So he's essentially either looking for Clay, looking for Steph, or just dumping it down to Wiggins on the elbow for like a turnaround, right? That lineup offensively worries me a little bit because on the flip side, the Lakers are running 4 to 5 guys that all can score.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt is maybe the one outlier. But at one point I texted you, Nick, on that 5 I just laid out for Golden State, the Lakers were running Schroeder, LeBron, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Davis, and Austin Reeves. Yep. That's 5 buckets if necessary, right? So Steph is going to have to carry those boys. You saw it last night. Steph didn't have a massive game. He ends up finishing with 27 on 10 of 24. He didn't shoot it that well, and they lost. Clay had the best game he's had in quite a while. Steph and Klay Thompson shot it 49 times combined last night. Like, that's just kind of where they're at. You know what I'm saying? And if those guys don't score 27, 28, 35, and they're at home, it's tough.
Yeah, and I thought that the Lakers just having that extra rest, it was clear. Another thing that Ham said is I'm going to tax my guys as far as like not resting guys. If you look, the Warriors had to rest Curry at certain points, and that's when those minutes get super spooky. I think it was right before the fourth quarter. Or at the end of the third, they rested Curry, and they were down 10. And they ended up not giving anything up because when he came back in, they were still down 10. But right when that happened, even the announcer was like, this is when it could get very spooky because you're essentially taking Curry off, and now it gets way scarier for you.
The on-off splits with Curry are
they're atrocious.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a whole completely different team. So I thought the Lakers, Darvin Ham was like, nah, fuck it. You guys are playing 40 minutes. Like the fact that LeBron is 38 years old and playing 40 minutes in these playoff games is insane. Anthony Davis played 44 minutes. It's like, nah, you boys are playing.
Nick, I will say this.
Austin Reeves got 39 minutes last night. Like,
I will say they almost ran out of gas.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, for
They-
sure.
they
They wouldn't have been able to
essentially-
survive overtime.
Hey, they essentially did run out of gas.
Yeah,
they
for sure.
what they end the game? It was like a 14-0
Yeah,
run.
and then Jordan Poole came running with one of those little red things, like, "No, I got you guys.
Yeah.
Don't trip. I got you. I'm gonna fill y'all up real quick with
Yeah.
this terrible shot."
So yeah,
But,
you gotta find at least 3 or 4 minutes for Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis played the entire second half.
And Clay needs it, and on the Lakers, and Clay needs to hit shots. Like, I think the thing that I noticed last night, I noticed I've been watching Clay, and I love Clay, so I don't want to say this, but he's not the same shooter that he was pre-injury and hasn't been. Like, a lot of that shit last night, like, he was 6 for 16 from 3. A lot of those are shots in the pass that Clay is absolutely knocking down, right? So I think, especially down the stretch there, and I'm not saying he's no longer good. He's still obviously a great shooter. And the most important thing is you have to guard him. You can't just say, "Hey, well, we're not going to guard Clay." So when they did go to that philosophy the Lakers had last night, you can't just ignore Clay. But I will say that, like, on some of those threes, I thought they were going in. I'm like, man, Clay back in the day is automatic on this.
Yeah.
That could be age, that could be the injuries, it could be whatever it might be. Maybe he was just off. But I feel like I noticed that when I'm watching him. Maybe that's just me. And I tend to look for negative shit. But yeah. But I mean, again, yeah, them putting it up 41 times. They really have nobody else. And with Wiggins, man, like,
The Poole thing,
1,000% comes to him. Yeah, Poole was left wide open, and Poole hit 6 threes. So, like, I can't fault him. Someone made a good point. I think it was on Get Up this morning. Poole has been enabled to take those shots. It's not like Poole's going outside the flow of the offense when he's taking some of these shots. If they're going to be there, you ultimately want him taking those. He was 7 for 15, 6 for 11 from 3. So it's not like he was wildly inefficient like he can be. But it gets to the end of the game, and we can talk about the last shot. The last shot, we don't even really need to talk about it. Just watch the clip on that. Even the shot before that, he took a contested 3, didn't try to get it back to Steph when Steph was absolutely cooking and was on fire. So I think his last 2 possessions were terrible. And then you get to that last shot, and I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Legler.
I did watch the Legler piece,
which
yeah.
was incredible. From
about those guys
angles.
not jogging up, too.
Not jogging up, and just where he caught it and how tough of a shot that is. To catch it this way. And
yeah, momentum and turn and shoot. Yeah,
and he's like, even when you see Steph Curry take those long shots, it's either off the dribble or it's on a straightaway pass where his momentum is already turning forward. But yeah,
Let me find that real quick, actually.
Yeah, it was an awesome breakdown from Tim Legler on Get Up this morning. It was the very first segment that they had, but he basically said multiple things went wrong on that. First is that Draymond and Wiggins, was it Draymond and Wiggins or it was Draymond and Wiggins jogged back, which allowed the defenders to stay where they were and created all that traffic up there. Then Jordan Poole didn't go down to the 3-point line. He stayed up next to Wiggins, which created a log jam, so he couldn't get the ball to Clay, who could have swung out open. Then when Dre finally does get it to Poole, he just launches this incredibly tough, super deep shot that he caught from this side, didn't have the momentum to shoot forward. So, yeah, if you get a chance to break it down, obviously he breaks it down better than I did. That was just kind of the gist of it. But there were multiple things that went wrong on that play. I don't care what anybody says. That's a bad shot. I heard some people trying to defend it. Some people saying, like, hey, it was in rhythm. I think Steph and them were like, oh, it was in rhythm. We trust him to take that. No, you don't. There was plenty of space that he could have stepped up. He could have tried to make another play. He could have tried to get it back to Curry. It was awful execution at the end of the ball game by the Warriors.
Yeah, I got it pulled up right here. I'm going to let the folks listen to it because I think it is really, really interesting. So let me share my screen real quick.
This means this video is going to get pulled down.
Exactly this happens.
No, we're good.
Let's start off with how exactly this happens, how it sets up the way. Right off the bat, but let's start off with how exactly this happens, how it sets up the way it does. Right off the bat, I want everybody to focus on 2 things. I want you to focus on the 2 players here for the Warriors, Poole and Draymond Green, and watch how they sort of jog up the floor. It sets up the entire thing because they don't sprint. They end up behind the play to such an extent that right now Steph Curry crosses the midcourt line, and you have right here, there's 4 Lakers in the proximity because those last 2 Warriors aren't even in the picture, and that's going to play in to where Draymond Green receives the basketball, which sets up this entire thing. So now, here you go. You stay with the double team. You keep coming. Now, right here, look at the spacing between these 2. Right now, Jordan Poole knows that pass is not coming to him directly. He needs to be relocating more into this gap right here. You've also got Klay Thompson, coming here. So if that ball were to get swung, you're going to have a 2-on-1 on this side of the floor with a very difficult decision, and maybe another pass gets made to Klay. But he doesn't do that. He stays right next to Draymond. So when this ball comes out, Draymond Green could have done something here to affect this play. If he puts it down hard right here, maybe you can get Anthony Davis to bite. Hey, maybe Anthony Davis is smart enough to say we're up 3 and he lets him go. I doubt it. Your natural inclination defensively is going to be to pick up this dribbler, which then means Jordan Poole can step in closer to the line. And if he catches it and there's a rotation here, you've got one more pass to Klay Thompson in the corner. It's not what happens. Now, the last part of this, right there. As a shooter, I can just tell you, as a guy that took a lot of deep shots in my career, when the ball is coming to you from this side and you catch it here, it's very difficult to generate the kind of momentum you need to shoot a shot from that distance. If you watch Steph Curry over the years, when he shoots those deep ones, it's either off the dribble where he's got momentum, or it's on a pass that's coming directly out from the post where he steps in. Jordan Poole's weight was going this direction. So to catch, turn, and shoot from 30, find the rim, you could even see.
Yeah, it's just the breakdown is so – he's the best.
The only thing I disagreed with is if Draymond would have ran down the basket, AD's not chasing him. They weren't guarding Draymond at all last night. I think AD stays put, but they definitely could have done a lot more. It was surprising to see them have such a bad breakdown. And look, don't let Steve Kerr get off the hook for keeping those timeouts either. The second that trap happened up top on Steph, I'm calling the timeout.
Yeah, it happened really quick, though. He got rid of it quick, though.
He did,
but, yeah, maybe Steph – listen, he's always going to trust his guys. I don't think he's ever going to –
he gets the benefit of the doubt.
He's ever going to call a timeout from the sideline in that type of spot. Steph would have had to have called a timeout in that spot. He's probably a little shell-shocked on the timeout calling anyway. After that tech.
He don't want to see Webb again?
Yeah. But – overall, how are you feeling about the series, seeing how it went down? If Anthony Davis is going to play like that, I think it's curtains
play that the Lakers are going to win. Yeah, that's it. But it's a big if, which is crazy when we're talking about Anthony Davis, a guy who's supposed to be one of the top 10 players in the league. But if he plays like that, the Warriors have absolutely no answer for him. He's too much for Looney. He's too much for Draymond, right? Like we talk about Draymond the defender, but Draymond's not a get down there and bang with Anthony Davis down low, and he's not big enough to handle Davis, man. So it's all about how AD plays. And if he is playing that way, it's all about can he stay healthy? Because we know this guy, you put a little bit of pressure on him, right? You rough him up a bit, you might not see him for 2 weeks. So if he can stay healthy, absolutely. You can count on LeBron for having better offensive games. I think he's going to keep that defensive intensity where it is. Everybody else on the Lakers are X factors, right? You don't know what you're going to get from game to game. But if you have Davis playing that way, you can run your entire offense that way. If he's aggressive on offense and aggressive like that on defense, then it's good. Absolutely.
You know what needs to happen as well? If Golden State wants to compete, I think the guy that's going to get to the line, that can get to the line, is going to be Wiggins.
Well, you need more. Yeah. 2 free throws last
night. He can get to the line. They took 6 free throw attempts to the Lakers 29. Like Draymond's not going to get to the line. Steph can, but he's typically not going to get to the line. Klay, it does not get to the line.
Yeah.
It's just every easy basket came from the Lakers end of the side of the court.
For sure.
Every single easy bucket was from them. So, yeah, man, this is really interesting.
Anthony Davis is the number one factor in this series, which is crazy in a series that features LeBron James and Steph Curry. Anthony Davis is the number one guy. Steph's going to have better games. Bron's going to have better games. It really Curry and Thompson, really. Because if Klay gets cooking in a game, that creates a major problem for the Lakers and their defensive strategy that they're going with right now. So we'll see. But this series is going to be awesome. If game one is any indication of anything, the first half was awesome. The series is going to be incredible. This is exactly what we wanted to see. You and I hinted to it a little bit yesterday, but listen, man, historically, like this is what we wanted, right? Like whose era is this? To me, like this is like a whose era is this type series?
Even if it's in the second round.
Even if it's in the second round, man, because we've talked about it. Look, the biggest thing that messed up the era of LeBron was this Warriors run. And if the Warriors are able to knock off the Lakers in the playoffs, right, and then get to the finals and maybe win another championship, that gives Steph one more ring than LeBron. And now those conversations have really flipped over. So I think that, like, yeah, man, this is a huge, huge, huge series. We don't know if we'll ever see these two guys go at it. These are the two defining superstars of the era, if we want to be real. Yeah, there have been great players. There's been KDs and all these other guys who we love watching. But if you're looking at the two winning, defining superstars of the last 15 years, it's LeBron James and Steph Curry, man. So this is what you want. The league has to be loving this. They love it so much. They love it so much. They're only giving them 1 day off between every single game. But somehow Miami gets a full week off.
Yeah.
So yeah, the league is milking this for every opportunity that they can get. And that's just what it's going to be, man. I love it. I'm all here for it. These playoffs have been phenomenal.
Yeah, always 73-9, and they lied.
73-9, and they lied.
What a handle! Top 10 handle. That's the top 10 handle, bro. 73-9, and they lied. Yeah, it's we
should do all-time Twitter handles. That and who was my man that used to play for Anthony Moore, Black Boy Pacino. Black Boy Pacino was
Who's that, Anthony Morrow?
Anthony Morrow, Black Boy, B-O-I, Black Boy Pacino. I don't even know what it means, but it's great.
That's so good. All right, let's kick off these last 15. Let's talk a little bit about – I'm going to lead this into the what worries you about each team.
Sure.
And I want to talk about Phoenix and the Nuggets. We know what time it is now. They're going back to Phoenix down 2-0.
Yeah.
And
over.
I gave this pick out on Buckets on Action Network. Suns to win game 3, Nuggets to win the series, plus 125. I like that bet a lot. I think the Phoenix Suns go home.
Is that a parlay or is that one bet?
One bet. It's like a exact outcome bet or something. Yeah, Suns win game 3, Nuggets win the series. Where are you at? What worries you about the Phoenix Suns? I think it's pretty obvious, but I want to get your take on now that we're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we didn't really, I'll be honest, I didn't really want to believe it coming in. I knew they were thin. I knew the roster was shallow. I didn't know it was this shallow, bro.
What is it? They got two points
Landale and all types of cats.
Yeah, playing guys major minutes that have no business playing those kind of minutes, and those guys aren't producing when they're getting in. It's simple what the problem is with the Phoenix. There's actually two things. So we can go with the obvious, which is their depth. Their depth is a major issue. You get past that starting 5, and again, you had 4 points off the bench. Campaign got you a bucket, and Bismack Biyombo got you a bucket. But Campaign was also minus 16. I thought he was awful.
Yeah, he was.
I thought he was atrocious.
He was.
He was one of the worst basketball players I've ever seen in my life on Sunday. He was just absolutely brutal. But yeah, I think that's their number one issue. But if you really want to get down to it, their offense down the stretch, especially when you pulled Chris Paul out of it in the fourth quarter, was very clunky. It was very dueling pianos between Durant and Booker. And those guys are excellent, so they're going to hit a lot of those shots, but it's not what you want to see from an offense. They weren't executing anything. It was pretty much, hey, you ISO, I ISO, you ISO, I ISO, and we'll kind of go from there. But as far as like overall execution, you didn't see any of that from them. So that worries me about them big time.
The offensive exexecution along with not having any depth.
Exactly.
I think Kevin Durant and Booker. Now, if we're didn't they confirm that Paul's going to miss 2, 3, and 4, or 3, 4, and 5?
They said he's doubtful for 3 and 4, which I thought was crazy. I don't know how you can be doubtful for game 4 and 3. If you're doubtful for game 4, you're not playing in game 3.
Right.
That's usually how I would assume that goes. But yeah.
Right. So you're going to tell me a team that essentially was going to win off their starters playing 42 plus minutes a night, every night throughout the entirety of the playoffs into the finals. That's the plan. Is going to lose their point guard and then potentially run into a team like, for example, they're better off playing the Lakers than the Warriors, in my opinion, just off a matchup piece, because they're just going to try to mid-range jumper you to death.
Yeah.
And it's going to all have to come from Durant and Booker. They're going to have to score 35 a night for them to even be in the game. So I think it's spooky right now for the Suns. I think this is going to be one of those things where they retool in the offseason. And I fell for it again, Nick. Team that doesn't have any depth and has played 15 games. I'm picking to win the West.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. I was dumb.
You have the best record?
Yeah, it's just
no, but I hear you. It's hard to pick against that. But like, yeah, I mean, The other thing is this, man. Like Durant has looked not great.
Yeah, he's been solid, not great.
He's been solid, but not like the automatic, like within, he's forcing at times, which you never see from Kevin Durant. Like, again, when Chris Paul went out in the fourth quarter, watch what they were doing on offense. The whole thing went to shambles.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying.
Score. I mean, it was tough enough for them to score already, but this team scored 14 points in the fourth quarter.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying with the Durant and the 12 threes thing.
Yeah.
I looked it up. He took 12 3-point attempts in game 2 on the road in Denver. He had attempted 12 threes only twice in the previous 2 full seasons. That's not his game. He's forcing that to piggyback on what you were saying, Nick. He's just getting these up because he's like, man, for us to keep up,
I have to shoot.
We're going to have to shoot some threes specifically. So I guess I'm going to get these up. And he's
not a desperado player like that, man. That's not his game.
It's not his game at all. So I'm worried about that. I had John Henson, my guy, is on record saying the Nuggets are going to sweep. Put that out yesterday. I have a hard time believing that. But I could see the Suns taking this or the Nuggets taking this in 5-6 games. No question.
For sure.
I think Jokic leaning on you the way that he does. The game for them to get was game 2 where Jamal Murray looked like me or you. That's how bad he played in game 2. He looked horrendous. He couldn't hit anything, couldn't get anything going, didn't impact the game at all. And they just didn't have enough. KCP hit some big shots. Aaron Gordon hit some big shots. Jokic played lights out. So, yeah, the three-pointer shooting and the depth of the Suns worries me. What worries you about the Nuggets right now? They're playing phenomenal at the moment, but what is one thing that does potentially worry you? For me, I'll keep it short. Just Jamal Murray can't get his own shot like that.
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr., I don't know if it's like an entitlement thing, but it's like, hey, you guys need to get me the shot exactly where I want on the floor, in the perfect pass, in my slot, and then I'll get up a shot. And if that's not the case, I'm actually frustrated about it, and I'm not going to impact the game at all.
I offer no value any other way other than shot making.
Right.
The thing that worries me the most about the Nuggets would probably be exactly what you just laid out, that after Jokic, as good as Murray can be, he wasn't great in that game. He had some shots down at the end of the game. And they really relied on massive buckets from KCP, your boy.
Shout out KCP.
Pat the Pockets KCP. Pat the Pockets KCP. Yeah, so I would just say overall, like as much talent as this team has, it gets scary when you kind of look for that second guy for them. But I feel like, fuck it. When it wasn't working for them in game 1, they just went to Jokic and in game 2, and he just absolutely took over. And the Suns had no answer for that. So there's a lot that worries me about them right now in this series. I think that they're going to win this series in 5. I'm even dubious a little bit about game 3, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, the number's only 4.
The thing would worry me is just like, where is that other guy going to come from for the Nuggets if it does get tough for Jokic? But again, I felt it was tough the other day, and Jokic just absolutely took over. Like, he absolutely took over that game, and they had nothing that they could do with him.
Yeah. Any reason Landry Shamet, Terrence Ross aren't getting any minutes from Monty Williams?
Landry Shamet is the definition of trick or treat. But I guess in this situation,
but I mean, you got to take a risk.
Throw Terrence Ross in there. When you need a bucket, that's what Terrence Ross does. We've talked about it, like Hooper, a ball player. Terrence Ross is a hooper. Yeah, he's a bucket. Yeah. So I would 100% give him an opportunity in there to do
Nick, I'm talking consecutive DNPs over and over.
What about the Bubble All-Star? TJ Warren's on the roster, isn't he?
TJ Warren, yeah.
I thought he was a bucket. I thought he was an all-star.
That bubble was something different, bro.
Yeah, see, I told you, he must have a crazy personal life. I told you, TJ Warren's personal life must be crazy because you took him away from everything. My man looked like fucking
bro, he looked like, bro, let's be honest. Yeah. Go back and look. He looked like fucking Kobe Bryant.
He looked like Kobe, yeah.
He looked like Kobe. Yeah. Like dead ass. TJ Warren in the bubble was sensational.
Yeah.
So
I'm telling
it's
you,
a
maybe his personal life must be wild. TJ Warren must be going through it out here. Like, no, don't let me out. He let him out of Orlando, and he reverts back. You pull him away from the distractions. He's ready to go.
Bro. No fans, no distractions. TJ Warren is an absolute hooper.
An absolute hooper. So that would with Phoenix is obviously the depth and just their offense. To me, again, if there's going to be no Chris Paul, I that's going to be a lot of campaign. Yeah, and campaign's been bad for a while now, or hurt.
Yeah.
But with Denver, yeah. So all right, who else we got?
What worries you about the Knicks? You know what? Forget about that. We'll go to these since we haven't talked about them. What worries you about? We've talked about this a bunch. What worries you about Boston? And then we'll get into Philly.
Their Boston's defense and crunch time decision making. I think defensively they're fraudulent and they've really slipped. And I think their crunch time decision making is evidenced in Game 2. Is unbelievable. Or was that Game 1? I'm sorry.
Where Game 1.
Yeah, Game 1. Yeah. Their decisions down the stretch, and the fact that now going back to last year in the finals, Tatum disappears in second halves of games, specifically in fourth quarters. Like this is not big ones. And this isn't just like here and there. Go back to the finals last year. Go back to what we talked about in every finals game last year after the first two, that this guy disappears. He's not calling for the ball. He's not aggressive, and he seems to be okay with it. That's the thing that actually really bothers me. He seems to be okay with disappearing.
Hey, man, listen. Jason Tatum, last year in the 2022 NBA Finals in the fourth quarter, 3 points, 1.5 assists, 0.7 rebounds in 6 games.
It was brutal.
It was all Jaylen Brown.
It was brutal. So then you get into situations where I don't know if that's how Missoula drew it up, that the final play was supposed to be Marcus Smart doing whatever it was that Marcus Smart was doing. And I get it. Marcus Smart was big down the stretch in that game for them. He had made a lot of plays. He was huge.
Well, it was one of those things where Marcus was like, yo, no one's fucking doing anything.
Yeah, what are we doing? Yeah.
Like, I guess I have to go to the basket and try to get a couple and ones. But yeah, exactly.
And how do you not? And my thing is this, dude, like, fuck all that. How does the ball just not go to Tatum's hands and you have him make a play, right? Like, here's one thing, man. We like to talk about Kobe, right? Like, everybody talks about Kobe, and rightfully so. How many games did you watch with Kobe, right, where Kobe would get that last shot and fucking mix it? But you know what? Nobody was upset. Nobody said anything, because if we're going to die with Kobe Bryant shooting the ball. We're not going to die with Rick Fox trying to make a play. We're not going to die with Devin George trying to see what's happening out here. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna go down. That's a bad analogy, but we're gonna with Kobe. You know what I mean? Like that's how it's gonna happen. So with Tatum, it's like, give me the ball, clear out, do whatever. Let me decide how this goes. If I pass it off, then I make that decision. If I shoot the jumper, then
we've been talking about this for years.
I'm the best player on the floor.
Yeah.
We don't need to call nothing. Throw away the clipboard. Ball me.
Right. Facts.
Ball me.
Right. Let's get to Philly. What worries you about the Philadelphia 76ers? Look good in Game 1, no Embiid.
Joel Embiid's health.
That's it.
And James Harden. I mean, you gotta get that consistent performance from James Harden. I will say this. I texted you guys after James Harden's first shot the other day. When he went baseline and let that little jumper go for the first bucket of the game, I said, oh, no, we're here. Yep. So that's all I need to see. We're going to get a vintage James Harden performance, plus how he showed up to the game. Fit was crazy. I was like, yeah, James is feeling himself today, and he's not going to fuck around because he doesn't want to have to come on Tuesday and hear everybody talk about how Harden shrinked when Embiid wasn't there. So if you can get that aggressive level of Harden, you don't need 40 every day, right? But if he's aggressive and just, hunting shots like he should be, if Embiid's health is the number one thing with the Philadelphia 76ers, I think Maxi's a guy, regardless. He's going to play like a bowling ball. He's going to play like a bat out of hell. If you can get your 14 to 15 from Tobias, because let's be honest, that's all you can really get at this point, they're going to be fine. Philly's good. I'll say that. Philly's good.
Yeah, we've been talking about that. They were at one point, a couple months back, they were plus 1,400 to win the East. And this is right when Boston really started slowing down. Yeah. Like, they kind of came down to earth a little bit from being the best offensive team we've ever seen.
20 games. Yeah, seriously.
And it was like, man, Philly is really, really good. This was when Embiid started rolling as well. So, yeah, man, I guess I'll go off the beaten path a little bit. My worry for Philly is they're going to need – it's Tobias Harris. consistency. If he can be consistent and do what he did in game one, they are very tough.
But he's your fourth guy now, right? Like if we're keeping it real, like Tobias, he's paid like a third guy, he's paid like a second guy, is your fourth guy. So it's like, is that
he's the X factor.
Okay.
In my opinion. Obviously, if Maxey scores 25 and James scores 25 and then Embiid scores 30, he led the league in scoring, then yeah, of course. But
sure,
there's going to be times defensively, rebounding wise, where Tobias could really impact the game. And it's like, go out and do that, and Philly will have a real good chance to
Harris
win.
Doing other things outside of trying to score.
Yeah, all these games. And knock down these open looks, man. He has to, I don't know. I should go look at Second Spectrum. Over the last 5 years, he has to have the most open shots in the NBA.
You sound like JJ Redick.
Go to
Second
Spectrum.
So I hope they cut JJ a check.
No,
but man drops Second Spectrum
all the time. Yeah, but dude, he always gets looks, man. Like with Maxey and Harden and those guys. So yeah, man, we'll keep it there. I got to leave it there. I got to jump. For Big Nick the Quick, I'm your host, Sean Little. Catch us Sports Talk via Chicago. We'll see y'all next time. Tons of more NBA talk coming. Shout out Aaron Rodgers in New York. I see you outside, big dog. For Big Nick the Quick, catch us Sports Talk via Chicago. We'll see y'all.